Let me ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself in this situation? You created what you thought was a good relationship with somebody, you built some rapport with them, you thought everything was going great, and then the time comes to ask them to do something, whether it's to close a sale, a personal favor, a request, whatever it may be, and that person is not on the same page as you. Well, the key issue is that you probably did something wrong in the rapport building stage, and chances are you don't even know what it is. So today what I want to share with you is something called the Hypnotic Vortex in conversational hypnosis and how you can use it to avoid this problem. So sit down and stay tuned. Let's go. The classic method of establishing rapport is talking to the other person and actively listening so that they begin to share more of what they're thinking and feeling at that very moment. The ultimate goal of rapport is to create this instant bond between you and the subject. We're going to enhance that process right now with a potent technique called Rapport Hooks through the Hypnotic Vortex. Rapport hooks are actually subconscious cues placed strategically throughout a conversation to generate interest in what you're saying so that the subject will feel that they need to know more about what you're talking about. It builds curiosity. Now, a lot of times people make the fatal mistake of laying all their cards down at once. And this is a bad move because when you do this, your subject is ultimately going to feel that you're somewhat desperate to please them. And this is going to reduce the authoritative image that you want to project. Remember, desperation and anxiety have no place in influence or persuasion because people respond to a higher pecking order. It's the way that we're wired. So as someone who wants to master conversational hypnosis or the art of gaining compliance through your words, you have to exert a lot of continuous effort to make sure that these negative elements never take the forefront when you're trying to express yourself effectively in front of other people. The problem is most people aren't conscious of these things, and that's why they fail at gaining compliance. So how do you use rapport hooks to engage other people instantly? Well, here's an example to show you just how easy it is to use a rapport hook in just about any situation. I arrived in the building because I was supposed to meet with my broker, but I was welcomed by a bunch of guys in dark suits, and they asked me if they could talk to me for a few minutes. Well, I didn't want to disappoint them. So I said, all right, let's talk. To cut the story short, I was still able to leave the building in one piece, but I missed my meeting with my broker. Now pay attention to that story. Did you notice anything about how I relayed the information in the example? Yes, there was a story there, and I did give out some important details related to my story. But here's the thing. In the end, the story was ultimately incomplete. It was missing a lot of really important details, and that's really what hooks the subject in. By removing some important details from what you're saying, what you're pitching, what you're talking about, you'll ultimately be able to create a natural interest in your story. You see, people ultimately will become hungry for more. Rapport hooks are extremely convenient tools because the truth is you don't have to be a brilliant speaker in order to use them. So even if you have a short, simple story to tell, you can create and sustain rapport throughout a social engagement by using hooks throughout the conversation. Anytime you feel that you're slowly losing your subject or your audience, you just have to tweak your input so that your subject's mind will automatically be alerted that there's something missing from what you're saying. Now, of course, you're still going to provide the necessary details, but you're going to make your subject work a little bit for it. You're going to wait until the full effect of the hook begins to manifest. The number one sign that you're looking for is questions. When your subject begins to ask you questions out of the blue, you can be assured that rapport is being created as you continue to engage that person. Rapport hooks can also be used for what we call fractionating rapport. So you can basically regulate rapport by allowing the subject to set the pace of the conversation. You give a little information, you gain the interest of the subject, and then you sit back and you wait for the questions. When a subject is able to comfortably formulate questions, that means you, the speaker, are not pressuring the subject. You're not breathing down the other person's neck. And that in and of itself is a great thing, because a comfortable and trusting subject is 90% there already. They're in the zone and they're more likely to say yes to your offer. Now let me give you another example of how simple rapport hooks or cues can be used to create an instant buzz about what you want to share with your audience. All right, so pay close attention. I recently visited a small town in Africa where diabetes, heart disease, and cancer are virtually unheard of and non-existent. Turns out they grow a strange plant there. They eat it every single day. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could grow that simple plant here so we could reap the same benefits too? Now, if you look at the second example, you can see the arc of the story very clearly. There's context and there are some supporting details, but I strategically left out the most important detail of all: the name of the plant and what people in the town were using it for. You see, curiosity is automatically increased because people don't like it when they hear an incomplete story. The mind wants to know more. And this is one of the main reasons why questions work so well, because when you ask someone a question, the mind is automatically prompted to search for an answer. Now, if you're interested in learning more conversational hypnosis techniques like this, check out conversationalhypnosiscode.com.